not only do we talk about money management skills, but we help people with wealth building and creating generational wealth and having multiple income streams, whether it's real estate, whether it's some of these digital products that you can create, having a mix of both active and passive. Like it's important. I wrote the book. I wrote everything that I had learned in my husband and I's journey in establishing or being on the way to establish a 7-figure net worth. And it was so well received. Like people loved the book. They said it was very relatable and practical. People will always come to me and ask me questions about their business structure, their business plans, different models and things like that. And I recently just completed a Principles of Finance course, graduate program at Harvard. And so now I really think that I know something about business and finances. Okay, so you thought I wouldn't shut up about business before. Definitely not shutting up now.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cissay's Collab Space. My name is Amy Cissay, and today we have the wonderful Tania. You have to, of course, give your own introduction because I do not want to do your introduction disservice. We have known each other for many, many years, and you have been doing some extraordinary things over the past few years, and I was so glad that we were able to reconnect. So Tania, please give an introduction of who you are.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I've always admired your work and have stalked you from a distance on LinkedIn. So glad we get to reconnect live. So my name is Tania Brielle Mabrey, as Amy shared, and I am the founder and a financial coach at Wisdom and Wealth. And we are a financial coaching practice that is focused on helping to close the racial wealth gap here in America. We focus on habits and mindsets and knowledge and education, and that get in your butt accountability that helps you to get things done so that you can reach your financial goals.
Thank you so much. So that's absolutely important. And I also can understand that, right? From a business perspective, understanding the financials are important, but then also from a personal perspective, it's important to focus on the now, focus on the plan, focus on the future, focus on beneficiaries, children. What does that look like?
Yes.
So I'm really glad that you were able to join me today. So first and foremost, let's talk about where you are from a career perspective.
Ooh, diving right in, coming in hot. Okay. So for me, where I am from a career perspective is for the past 4 years, since 2020, I have been doing financial coaching part-time. And recently, I think it was 2 weeks ago, actually, it's very fresh. My company is going through a restructuring, I work in the tech industry, and they're focused on becoming, better aligned with AI and the other market opportunities. So I, along with the other 200 sellers of my product, were told that our services were no longer needed. And it was a very exciting moment for me because I have been working in my business and on my business and felt like this was the perfect opportunity. So the layoff and the severance package was a perfect launch pad. And because I have been, I do financial coaching and I teach other people the concepts, and my husband and I, we actually practice what we preach. So we were fortunate enough that we had reached a place where I was work optional, or I am work optional. So it gives me the opportunity to work in my business full time right now. And so it was great timing because literally on Monday, they let us know that we were going to get laid off. And on Friday, we had already scheduled, my partner Darren and I, to launch a brand new group coaching program. So it's been a blessing. But I also recognize it is not the case for everyone, right? So there's a lot of unrest that's taking place, in the economy. We're in an election year, and a lot of these tech companies are doing it. It's not just my company. And so the importance of financial discipline is more important than ever, right? The importance of multiple streams of income is more important than ever. So I feel very fortunate, and I also want and desire to teach other people, right, to do the same thing, so that when these situations come, whatever it may be, that, like, for example, the layoff, that people may be affected by it, but they're not impacted, right? In their heart and their soul and who they are and their finances and in their quality of life, right? And so being able to coach people around that has actually become even more important, having walked through it myself now.
I think that's really important, right? Because this was a big name tech company. And I also know of others that have worked for, big name tech companies where they got laid off. And I think that the traditional mindset of, I'm going to work at this company and, this company's doing really well from a revenue perspective. They shouldn't get rid of me. I think that mindset is out the door
Mhm.
because anything can happen. You just don't know and you have no control over it. And so I love the idea of different streams of revenue so that if things change and it's out of your control, at least you have something to fall back on.
Yeah, I think multiple income streams is always going to be key, right? So not only do we talk about money management skills, but we help people with wealth building and creating generational wealth and having multiple income streams, whether it's real estate, whether it's some of these digital products that you can create, having a mix of both active and passive, like it's important. And years ago, I used to be part of a network marketing organization, and we used to always say, hashtag, these jobs ain't faithful, right? So you got to be ready. And it's very true, right? The point that you made is accurate. If we looked at the Q4 results, they had record level profit, right? Like they had a very good quarter. Now, the entire year on the aggregate, they had missed some of their projections, but they were coming off of a great quarter, yet and still we're making that shift. So you used to be able to read the tea leaves a little bit better and to know what's coming. And there are some trends in the tech space that you do want to pay attention to and align with what's, popping. But I was aligned with a product that is in demand in the market. And due to a merger, they restructured. So you just have to be ready. You have to be ready mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and definitely financially.
That's absolutely true. I mean, what are some of the basic tips that you would give to someone if they're looking for just a foot in the door with an additional stream of income?
Yeah, so I think the number one place is to think about the things that people tell you that you're good at, right? The things that people like, oh, girl, your cookies are so good, every time. Or when you come to their house, these might be more female examples because these are the ones that come to mind. But, you come to someone's house and they always have like bomb brunch drinks, right? You always, making cocktails. Like you can become a part time bartender. Like I have friends that bartend on the weekends, or, I have, people that go to different what do you call it, like shops, pop-up shops, venues, and sell baked goods. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and for a few years a friend and we ran a branding company because we loved graphic design, we loved entrepreneurship, we focused on female entrepreneurs, and it was just something that we enjoyed. And so people were always asking us, oh, can you design this, can you design that? So I think the number one place, right, is find either a hobby or find something that you enjoy personally or other people see in you, and see if there's a way to leverage that as an additional income stream.
And I actually bartended. I don't know
Ah,
who told you that.
I think like wave. And once you said that, I was like, I feel as though in
Yes.
one world I knew that.
Yeah.
In my subconscious mind, it knew that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great way to just pick up extra money. And I also was telling someone that recently, if they just wanted to, maybe they don't work in a restaurant or an establishment, if they just wanted to kind of pick and choose a party that fits within their schedule, you could do private events. I did
Yep.
weddings, birthday parties, and it's like a random Saturday, Sunday. I bartended at tech events, and I would also network at those tech events where I was bartending. So, and you just
Incredible.
never know who you're going to meet because you're talking to people all the time. So it's perfect.
Mhm. And those couple, like whether it's just a couple extra $100 or whatever, especially if you're at a place where you have debt, that helps you get out of that situation quickly, because or more quickly, right? So you can put that towards your debt. You could put that in an investment account if you don't have any debt. Like all of those things, having that additional income is going to help you build to a place of financial stability, right? So that is why we try to teach people not to, but people tend to live up to their means, right? And then go a little bit over. But when you have that additional stream of income, you don't kind of count on it the same way. So you're able to mentally allocate it to things that really build wealth. Now, when you really, really want to get to the place that you want to build wealth, then you're going to, adjust your living expenses to live beneath your means so that you can use that delta to build wealth.
So what are some of the other challenges you see with people as it relates to shifting mentally with how they build that wealth?
There's a lot. So one of the things, I think one of the biggest ones I see is the narratives that you were taught as a child. What conversations happened in your house around money, right? Like, was it conversations where it was scarcity, right? I grew up in poverty and we never had a lot of money. So it was just like money was a scarce resource. And so the idea of having a plethora of money at any given point just wasn't a concept to me. I remember when I was in my 20s and I saved my first $1,000 emergency fund. It took me a while to just mentally sit with that, right? Like to be like, okay, so we're not going to pay a bill with this, right? Like we're not going to do anything. So I think the mental narratives can be one of the big ones. Um, I think the keeping up with the Joneses is another one. Like, you and I, we live in the DC area, and this is the brunch capital of the world. Okay. And so and after the pandemic, it has become exponentially more expensive just to go outside. So when you are trying to keep up with the social life, trying to keep up appearances, like it's really expensive. And so sometimes, saying no can be a challenge to building wealth. I remember when my husband and I were on our journey to get rid of all of our consumer debt. We were like, okay, listen, we're going to go, but we're going to eat before we get there. We're only going to order an appetizer. We definitely aren't ordering drinks. And then we're going to have a snack in the car for on the way back, right? That we pre-packed. So you just have to have a little bit of intentionality around that. You don't have to give up your social life, but I definitely feel like that keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the social culture, that can be another barrier when it comes to building wealth and finding that extra money in your budget that you need to allocate towards those things.
In the DC area, you're absolutely right. It is rough around here.
And like, stops are great. So you want to be outside. Like,
and don't park in the wrong place. And you have to pay for parking tickets and just everything else. That's added
that
expense.
literally happened to me like 2 weeks ago. So I feel like you're killing me softly right now. $100 ticket. Okay. I treated my friend and the ticket was still more than what we ate. I was so annoyed, but it's all right.
And the cost of living here. Like, what's your advice around that?
Ooh, so I think cost of living is tough. It's tough for a couple of scenarios, right? So I feel like cost of living can be dependent on your income and your vocation, right? So for certain people, the DC area is phenomenal because you can manage the cost of living because your vocation can keep up with it, right? But in some vocations, it makes it very, very difficult. So I think when your vocation and the cost of living have a disconnect, or your earnings have a disconnect, then you may want to consider living in a lower cost of living city. You may want to consider consolidating like your living expenses with someone else, like doing roommates or something like that. That's just really tough, and it depends on how quickly you want to reach your goals, right? Because Dave Ramsey, he's a controversial figure for whatever reason in finance, but he really does have some really good nuggets, especially around getting out of debt. And he advocates for like a rice and beans and rice perspective. So, which means while you're trying to get out of debt, you're not going to a rooftop brunch. You're just going to eat some beans and rice. You're going to eat the leftovers as beans and rice. You're going to do whatever you need to do to adjust your lifestyle to reach your goals. So for some, that may mean relocating to a lower cost of living city. It just depends on how much do you want it, or having a roommate, right? So, or going back to school so you can change your vocation so that you can have a better job, right? Or getting a certification or whatever it may be, or networking, like you said, while you bartend so that you can get a better job. So I think there's a lot of levers you can pull to navigate a high cost of living city and still reach your goals, but it's going to take sacrifice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, another sacrifice is maybe moving a little further out, away from DC.
Mhm.
Rent versus buy. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's changing, right? So, and I think it depends on the generation. This is such a rude term, a geriatric millennial. So, we kind of still believe in home ownership, so to speak, but I feel like the next generation coming behind us isn't as tied to it. Like some of the polls have shown that. I think participation in the upside of real estate is important. So if you're doing that through real estate investment trust, REITs, and you're investing in them, then that's an important way to participate in the upside of real estate. So I don't have like a strong line like, oh, you should rent, oh, you should buy. I like to make value and data driven decisions, regardless of if you decide personally that you want to rent forever or buy. History has shown us that real estate is typically one of the foundational biggest pieces of people's net worth. So I feel like, people say, look, real estate is undefeated. Not necessarily, because it depends on when you buy and we've seen these pandemics and we've seen these recessions, and that can erode the gains that you get from real estate. But I do think you need to have a position and think intentionally about how and in what way real estate is going to be part of your wealth building journey. And typically, like, if it's not going to be you buying, then invest via REITs.
All right. What about as it relates to investing in the stock market? Do you provide tips on that as well or no?
So no, so that's actually a very interesting perspective. So financial coaching is newer to the financial industry, and as a financial coach, by law, I'm not able to provide investment advice. So I don't make recommendations around specific stock, like what you should buy, how you should be allocated. But what I do is I educate my clients and challenge them to become knowledgeable about investing, to understand what's in your portfolio, to know what a small cap, a mid cap, an international fund, what that means. What does it look like to have a balanced portfolio? What does the evaluation of your risk tolerance, like, what does that mean? And how does that, impact your outcome? When your statements come, whether they're, by mail or electronically, do you know how to read them? I ask them, I say, hey, how is your portfolio performing the last year? And most people don't know because they haven't learned how to review it. So I don't provide specific investment advice, but I do empower people to become knowledgeable about investing.
That's really insightful and a good foundational step for people to have. What's the name of the program?
So the program is Black Wealth Architects. Um, it is a money management and wealth building course where we will have people come in and actually build and design their wealth blueprint. So it's a 12-week online course, and you will get access to 12 different video modules that will talk about things from managing your credit score, calculating your net worth, understanding the difference between assets and liabilities. To your point, what is your real estate strategy, right? What is your intergenerational expectation? Do you have a legacy folder? What are your goals around retirement? Are you retirement ready? So we're going to talk. It's comprehensive. We're going to take it from soup to nuts, end to end in 12 weeks, talking about these different areas, identifying what you want to accomplish in those areas, and then have actionable steps aligned to it. In addition to the online lessons and the worksheets, you will also be able to participate, and this is like my favorite part, in 6 90-minute, does that sound clear? 6 different 90-minute group coaching sessions. And we're going to have dialogue about trending financial topics. Darren and I will be able to provide, specific advice. If people, we will do a little bit of hot seating. If someone wants to share, we'll have this question. It's going to be amazing. So our background is that Darren and I actually met at our prior tech company, and we used to do financial well-being programming for the Black professionals for over 2 years. And so there was just this je ne sais quoi, this essence, this vibe when everyone got together and was talking about finances. And we're going to recreate that in our program. So we're very excited. I have to cut myself off because I will keep talking about it because there's so much goodness, and I am so excited about it.
I like that a lot because I think with group sessions, you get to get different perspectives from different people around their just maybe the actions that they've taken or the lessons learned or just some of the successes that they've had along the way. So I really like that approach a lot.
Yeah, I think you get to not only get the wisdom that we as coaches provide, but you get to benefit from the collective wisdom, right? Some people like may nerd out on crypto, and so they know a whole bunch. Somebody may, be like a mortgage broker or something, right? And so then, or they have a background or experience, and so they may, share some things. It's great to have that benefit of collective wisdom, that dialogue. And I think, though, one of the most important things, whether it's coaching or group coaching, one-on-one coaching or group coaching, is that accountability. Because you can say, oh yeah, I know I need to review my portfolio. Oh, I know I need to, work on my credit score. I need to dispute some things. But when you say you're going to do it and you put it in that online discussion board, and then 2 weeks later you get on that call and we're like, okay, so what's the status? How have you done it? Right.
Right.
Then things start to move. So I think the accountability is a really important piece of the process too. Things change when you're getting held to the fire, feet held to the fire.
Right, because we can get easily distracted with everyday life and we can think, oh, we need to do this and we need to do that. But having that meeting that's coming up forces you to actually get it done because, yeah, you have to get it done. And you're, participating in this group. So why not?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So you brought up a good topic too, right? Digital currency. You all are discussing that or helping people understand what that looks like. How does that work?
So we do touch on it. So the one thing about being comprehensive is that we don't go super in depth on any one topic in this course. We have some follow-up courses where we will talk about it, but we do touch on digital assets. It's not a deep dive.
Okay. What about from a business perspective? Are you helping people with the business lens of finances, or is it more so just from a personal perspective?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. So when you talk about things that you are good at, right? So I have been a side hustle business coach for years. People will always come to me and ask me questions about their business structure, their business plans, different models and things like that. And I recently just completed a Principles of Finance course, graduate program at Harvard. And so now I really think that I know something about business and finances. Okay, so you thought I wouldn't shut up about business before. Definitely not shutting up now. So formally, no, we do not provide that. But am I forever a business coach just because it's who I am?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's great that you've taken a course to really understand the nuts and bolts of what it means to be able to give people advice on these topics. Mm-hmm. I think that searching online for random videos is great, but I think when you have that real structure with a course, then you get solid foundation, and you took a class at Harvard, so shouldn't be bad.
No, ma'am. Let's clarify. Okay, I took a whole graduate program, not a class, a whole graduate program that was hard and kicked my butt. But I finished it, and nice. I have knowledge, and now I'm ready to share.
Thank you for clarifying, because we can't just skim over that very briefly. Yes.
Mm-mm.
Very nice. So, what about your book? I know you shared with me a while back that you published a book. You are an author?
I am. So the book is called hashtag Seven Figure Net Worth Modern Wealth Blueprint for Black Americans. And it was a project that I completed during the pandemic and something that I felt like God put on my heart and kept nudging me to do. And to be honest, it was the genesis for me working in personal finance. Prior to writing the book, it was nothing that I ever had on my radar screen. I didn't feel like I was someone that could provide financial advice. I was still learning. I was self taught. I grew up in poverty. I made mistakes in my 20s. And who was I to tell anybody about finance? And I wrote it. I wrote the book. I wrote everything that I had learned in my husband and I's journey in establishing or being on the way to establish a seven figure net worth. And it was so well received. Like people loved the book. They said it was very relatable and practical because I always feel like, not always, but a lot of times when people talk about finance, they talk about it in terms and in ways that's just not accessible. And so I wanted the book to be conversational, but educational, right? I wanted the book to look at finance not just from a numbers perspective, but from a societal context of what we experience as Black Americans. I wanted to also look at the emotional aspect of money because, in my experience being self taught, a lot of it was, just rigid, right? But when you have a relationship status with money that's complicated and nuanced, or, you've dealt with financial abuse, or, there's just a whole spectrum of different things that can bring emotion into money. So what the book does is it lays out a blueprint for going through your finances, for understanding the plan, for establishing a plan, and then for executing the plan and looking at it from multiple contexts. And so everyone actually who participates in the Black Wealth Architects program will get a copy of the book, but it is also available on Amazon. So
That's awesome. It definitely sounds like a must read that people should definitely check out. I'll drop the links below the video. And what is wrong with me today?
girl, you're not being funny. You should have said what you were gonna say the first time. You'd be like, I think I might have read it, but I don't know. And then I would have been like, girl, you might read my book because I saw that's what you were about to do. But you caught yourself. Like, how are we telling these people to read our book and I ain't read it? I think I read it. I don't know.
No, what's so funny? What's funny is that I remember I felt like you shared the book with me through LinkedIn or something like that. I added it to my cart in Amazon. I have it saved for sure, but I haven't read it, right?
You haven't checked out on it first, and then you haven't read it.
Yep, yep. So I'm gonna do better in life, is what I'm gonna do. Absolutely.
It's okay.
So you should see a purchase coming through very soon.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yes.
the support.
Do you know if it's available through audio as well, or if it's just literally like hardback, paperback?
It's hardback, paperback. No, I don't even think it's hardback. It's paperback and Kindle. And
Okay.
I've been thinking about doing an audible recording. Someone actually approached me about doing it for me, and I was like, no. And so, I was like, oh, I really need to get on that. So maybe on my 2025 vision board, I'll put audible.
So, and I think that's my dilemma is that I get so distracted where reading to me sometimes, like I'm a skimmer,
Yeah.
and then my mind starts wandering.
Mhm.
And so sometimes though, I retain information if I'm listening, if I'm
Mhm.
in the car, right?
Yep.
And just listening, I think that that's like the best way to really get my attention,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
Yes. That doesn't
Yeah,
let you off the hook though. You don't
I
get to
know.
have to read
You
it.
do better.
But I am actually the same way. So sometimes when I'm multitasking, I retain information better. So like even when I was in school, if I could listen to the lecture while I was walking, then I was able to retain it better than if I was just sitting on my couch. So I think there is something to that. I'm sure there's some
Right.
neuroscience around it.
Mm, I agree. I need to do better in life, though. I will.
You're doing
Now we're
great in life.
having
You're crushing
You
it.
know what? I always tell my friends, I need to get my life together. And they're like, what are you talking about? Your life is together.
Right. Most together person we know. If you're not together, then what the rest of us doing?
Why, thank you. So what is next? What's on your roadmap?
Yeah. So for me, it's just I want to do a mix of increasing my one-on-one clientele, increasing and creating more exposure to the group coaching program. And then I'm going to work on a couple of different offerings for webinars that we can do for corporations that have employee resource organizations, um, catering to women or catering to people that are African American. And also, I think I like the other thing I want to do is like fun stuff like waffles and wealth. I kind of want a brunch offering where, I can come do group coaching. We can, sip on mimosas and get our money together. So those are the things that are top of mind for me. So now that I have some additional free time, I will work on designing those things.
That sounds good. I like that a lot, especially like the brunch theme, because again, that's just what we
It's,
do here in the DC area.
yeah.
Yes, awesome. Anything else you want to share?
Amy is awesome. Amy is awesome. Amy is awesome. That's it.
Oh, why, thank you. I try to be. I really do.
I'm turning into my daughter. I'm like, oh.
Well, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you today. How can the audience get in contact with you?
Hoo-hoo! No, I'm just playing. See, now I'm
Oh,
being silly. Now I'm being silly. No. So you can get in contact with me on wisdomthenwealth.com, wisdom, THEN, wealth.com. And you can also follow me on Instagram at the same handle, wisdomthenwealth.com. So definitely reach out. We do free 20-minute consult. So if you want to talk about your money, if you're interested in getting more information about the Black Wealth Architect site, Amy will have the link as well, and you will be able to go check out the program.
excellent. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's good to reconnect.
Yes, absolutely. You are always welcome back.
Okay, I'm gonna take you up on that, especially when Waffles and Wealth is ready.
Yes. But you got to make sure the weather is not a disaster in this area because I hibernate.
Spring brunch. Okay, got it.
Mhm. Yes. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.